Hi, I'm Rashanah Baldwin, a journalist, a Chicagoan, and a millennial bringing light to everyday stories that matter. I share the type of stories that mainstream media ignores or gets wrong. The news of the neighborhoods, the news that matters. Here is someone you need to know. Good afternoon. Thank you, Pastor Chauncey Harrison, for joining me today on the Zoom interview. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. How are you?
I'm good. You are the senior pastor of Zion Baptist Church of Philadelphia. Um, how is your congregation? What is the morale like across the state of Philadelphia?
Definitely. Well, one thing I would
City of
say,
Philadelphia.
so one thing I would say is that our church has been closed since March the 14th due to the coronavirus pandemic. And since then, every Sunday from there, we've had service virtually via Facebook Live and Zoom. Secondly, you know, the church is definitely in transition, considering that we've had a number of members pass away. Some weeks we having 2 to 3 people passing away, 2 to 3 people who have the virus, but then also multiple members within our congregation who have family members out of town who also have the virus. And another complication for that is the funerals, because the thing is, the grieving process becomes even more difficult considering that you can only have 10 people, but then also it could be a wake, but the people have to go in and out. You have to wear masks. But then also, when you get to the cemetery, the time is very limited as it relates to the committal process because there's so many people who passed away. The cemeteries and the funeral homes are, they're in high demand, overworked, has so many people to bury. So it's been really tough. But morale is pretty tough right now because I've been here as of July. This will be my second year as a pastor of this church, which is one of the oldest churches in the city of Philadelphia. Um, Morale is very low right now, considering the amount of deaths, but also the amount of griefs that our members are going through. But then also the certain grief from not being in this building, because for many of our older members, this is not just a place for spiritual growth and empowerment, but also this is the place that they get out the house once a week to see family and friends that they are not exposed to. So yeah, it's been pretty tough, but we have to ultimately adjust. That's what the Great Commission calls us to do. Jesus gave us the who, the what, the when, and the why. But now we have to operate in the how, be innovative and creative to share the gospel, to connect with people, and ultimately be that light in darkness to show people that although this thing is tough, if God brought us to it, God's going to bring us through it, and we're going to make it out together.
What toll has it taken on you as a young pastor, a millennial? You have a large congregation, right? Is it over 200 or over 300?
Yeah, so we have a congregation of 500.
Wow. And did you say 2 to 3 people have been passing frequently?
Yeah, so last Tuesday we had 3 people. This past Tuesday we had 3 people as well.
What toll has it taken on you personally? How is it affecting you personally? Or are you react to that?
Yeah, well, going into ministry, you want to do some, you got to do preaching, you got to do teaching, weddings, but also you got to do funerals. And of course, you got to do funerals as a pastor. But I think the regularity is just unprecedented, considering the fact of how many people dying so fast. You can barely keep up with them. So the thing is, it definitely takes a mental toll. So for me, I've been taking time just to work out and also to watch movies and cook and just talk to friends and family and things like that to keep my mind alert and moving as well, so that I don't get depressed and despondent. Because the thing is, this particular um, season is calling me to take on a new role as comforter in chief to my congregation and
Exactly.
navigate through this process. Also, as a military chaplain, I'm helping my unit to navigate through this process as well, considering that many of them have family members who've passed away. But on top of that, you also have to deal with unemployment because you're already at 70,000 people who have died, but we're already at over 30,000 people, 30 million people who are out of work. So it's really tough.
Wow. That is amazing, to just hear all of what you are doing to keep people's faith together. What has been the new normal? If you are only able to have 10 people at a funeral, are you, the pastor, still allowed to be a part of the service, or is the funeral company handling that completely on their own?
Yeah, so the funeral home will allow the pastor to officiate and be the eulogist at the funeral. So what usually happens is they first have the wake, maybe from 9 to 10, and people can come in and out, come in, out, come in and out, no congregating. But then once the service has started, the pastor, of course, officiate the funeral and also is the eulogist. But only 10 family members are allowed, and they also have to be spaced out 6 feet apart, and we have to be wearing masks while we are in that particular space. So yeah, that has really been an adjustment. But then plus the additional family members and friends, they would have to look at the service via Zoom. So that allowed them to stay connected. But still, that's really a tough and really difficult for families, of course, when you can't be there at the service in person for your loved one. Plus, you can go there and hug people and shake their hands and embrace them to let them know that you're with them during the time of bereavement.
How have your members adapted to the use of Facebook and Zoom, even specifically the elders?
Definitely. So many of our members already were all connected to me via Facebook, but then now many of them have, been pushed out of their comfort zone to have Facebook pages, and to connect with me every Sunday for worship at 10 a.m. virtually, but then also for Bible study at 7 p.m. on Tuesdays, but then also for Zoom. So a given Sunday between Zoom and Facebook Live, I have 200 people listening in. And that's my congregation, people from our city who are Christians, but their church don't have the online infrastructure or following. But then the other part is just people and family and friends that I know from across the country.
Wow. That's actually a great way to pivot and really look at doing ministry another way. I mean, a lot of pastors have been streaming services online. What is the morale like across Philadelphia?
Definitely.
What are your governors saying? What is your mayor saying? What are the residents saying? How are they feeling? How is shelter in place going?
Yeah, well, the morale, everybody's about nearly going stir crazy considering this pandemic. But I think the thing is, Pennsylvania, our numbers are high. Our numbers are just about at the same level when it comes to cases as the state of Illinois. What's interesting is the governor will likely be lifting the stay-at-home order this coming Friday. But the thing is, when it comes to this state of Pennsylvania, we have 69 counties, but 47 of those 69 are rural areas, rural counties. And so the thing is, that particular stay-at-home order, which will be phased in this coming Friday, will actually include every place in Philadelphia. I'm saying every place in Pennsylvania except Philadelphia, because our cases are so high. Of course, we're the sixth largest city in the U.S. We're predominantly Black city. 1.5 million people live in this city. So the thing is, although Pennsylvania likely will open on this coming Friday, Philadelphia may not open back until mid-June to early July.
That's what the governor is predicting?
Yeah, and that's definitely how it's looking, because given the metrics that they're using to determine when to open up certain counties and cities, we're nowhere near that metric. And so the thing is, the governors really have been leading the way, considering the duplicitous messaging that we've been getting from, the White House. So, yeah.
That I'm shocked to hear that you all will possibly go Philadelphia until mid-June. I know our governor here in Illinois is looking to open the state up in phases. Our shelter in place ends at the end of this month, possibly, but it could get an extension, but he's rolling out a 5-phase plan. What do you envision the new normal will be like for ministry? You have a congregation of over 500. What does it look like?
So what the new normal will look like. Yeah, so let's say it this way. Normal is gone. We will never have normal again. I think the goal is to get some semblance of normalcy while adapting to a new way of life. So what I think, let's say, for example, the city of Philadelphia reopened, let's say the 1st of June. I think from there, the new normal for ministry for us will be, I would say, one, for seating. When it comes to seating on Sunday, let's say your first row, you got 4 to 5 people in that first row, and they're spaced out. Second row, nobody's on the second row. Third row, 4 to 5 people spaced out, and that will be the whole lay of the land for the entire this entire first floor of our congregation. Of course, the older people will have to, be in that particular level of the first floor. Fortunately, our church has like 800 seats on the first floor, but then the middle age to the young people, they would have to be in the back / the balcony. So that's one piece. Secondly, we'll still be wearing masks. We'll still be social, practicing social distancing. But then also, we still will be asking our members who have flu and cold-like symptoms and stuff like that to stay home. But the other thing is the reality people have to understand is, once everything open up, everybody going to just, everything's going back to normal. That's not happening, because this is the thing. Once, it opens back up, some people still are not coming to no church, to no restaurant, to work until there is a vaccine, which likely won't happen until earliest the end of the year or the beginning of the new year, 2021. And so the thing is, my church will not be filled the first Sunday we go reopen, because some of my members are gone, they passed away. But then secondly, some people are still in perpetual fear, and they won't come back into huge group settings. And the third part of that too is that, we have to understand that there will be a pervading fear that will always be around. Some people will no longer travel on airplanes. Some people will no longer go to huge concerts like Pitchfork and Lollapalooza. Certain people never go to big basketball and football games and concerts because of all these people, but also the continuing fear, the continual fear within about the virus. And I think I lastly would say that the new normal ministry will specifically look like us, continually using Facebook Live and Zoom, even when we come back in person. The other part of that is ensuring that we're going to put our screens in our sanctuary, but also do live streaming every Sunday as well. And the other part of that is, we're going to continue to be that oasis of hope for our people, that beacon of light for our congregation and our community, because they need that in all this despair that we're dealing with due to the
How are
pandemic.
you addressing their concerns, their needs? How are you really assisting to alleviate that fear? Are you doing, how many Zoom calls a day are you doing? How many phone calls a day are you doing?
Good question. Good question. As I say, comforter in chief. The thing is, I'm calling people throughout throughout the week, but also our deacons and deaconess are doing it as well, because people want to stay connected. And in a process like this, even as a pastor and as a preacher, one of the best things that you can do is provide the ministry of presence, even if that's virtually, because there's no scripture, there's no prayer, there's no magical prophecy that I can give to take the pain away and make people happy and restore people's joy. But I think having that ministry of presence, one, but specifically consistency, this is what I'm learning. The consistency is also important, so people know, okay, we got somebody that's with us, but also the consistent calls and the consistent emails and services virtually, and also correspondences that keep people connected, but also it keep people with a sense of of hope that things can possibly get better, and it will get better.
As it relates to the new normal of ministry, what will baptism look like?
Good question. I was thinking about that the other day, because we've been having virtual communion. So we've been having virtual communion. I tell our people every first Sunday we'll be having virtual communion. I tell them, have your bread and grape juice available. I prefer grape juice because I don't want you to get tipsy doing Holy Communion service.
Right.
But the point though is baptism. That will be something that we would definitely have to revisit. I've thought about it a little bit, but I haven't taken extensive time to get counsel.
Where are you getting
As
so
an
are you
expert.
getting counsel from? I don't know how it works in ministry and religion. I know some people have conferences or senior offices or national offices. How does it work? And
Yes, so we are a Baptist church, which means that we believe in the autonomy of the local body. So we don't have any bishops or anything above us. But I do consult with other pastors throughout our city, and you know, different pastoral mentors of mine throughout the country. But when it comes to baptism, definitely we won't be going back to baptism the Sunday we open back up. I would say baptisms will likely restart at earliest once we got a vaccine. So yeah.
What are your thoughts about the other pastors across the nation keeping their doors open, having service in person, and later getting in trouble with the law?
Well, the scripture tells us to obey the laws of the land. And at the end of the day, when it comes to us as believers, we have to model honoring God while also honoring government. You never want to put, you know, one versus the other, and they don't necessarily have to be mutually exclusive. But at the end of the day, we have to understand that we have to value people's safety over the service. And the thing is this: many churches and pastors have continue to have services and get in trouble with the local officials and get fined and even went to jail. I don't think that's operating out of faith. That is operating out of foolishness, number one. But then secondly, you know, there's the loss of compassion, because ultimately we closed as of the 14th of March. Although I know that we usually take in $15,000 every Sunday. We're at virtually 30% of that every week, and I have 100,000 square feet building here. Um, the point of the matter is I value our members' lives over the money. And the other part is that you have to understand many of those pastors are still having those services because of the revenue that that they'll lose without having a service on Sunday. But at the end of the day, if we've been believing God all this time to make a way and telling people God is going to open a door and that God is going to bless us and He's going to make a way out of no way, we have to believe God to do that right here and right now. And so ultimately, this is the process and the season by which we practice what we preach. And I just don't think it is wisdom to be having in-person services, which put the safety and security of our people at stake. And we've also been seeing it throughout our country, those ministers who've been doing that, and you've been seeing some of them have passed away. Some of their members have now gotten the virus. And
Yep.
so it's ultimately important that we value our members over money.
Wow, absolutely. I agree with you wholeheartedly. As we wrap up, because I know you have to get some rest, how do you plan to stay safe to protect yourself? Because being a pastor, you are touching people, you are giving hugs, you are receiving hugs. How are you going to stay safe and protect yourself without putting up a wall in front of, those, your members who want to hug you, who want to say thank you, or want to even pray with you?
Definitely. So until we have a vaccine, I am doing virtual hugs, virtual kisses, virtual handshakes, and virtual fist bumps. And if you want prayer, we're going to do prayer over the phone and also prayer via Facebook Live and prayer via Zoom. For me personally, I just don't go around crowds, period. The only time I do go is when I go to the grocery store. But for me, when it comes to the grocery store, I go right when they open, or just right before the hour right before they're gonna close, to just avoid being around big crowds. But then also just been washing my hands every time I leave a building, come into a building, been using hand sanitizer as well, but also using my mask. Definitely when I go into a grocery store, and also even if we have to have a gravesite service like I did yesterday, or in a setting where people are. And then ultimately just trying to exercise and try to eat right, and trying to take your vitamins and stuff like that, because even in a process like this, it's good to do all the sanitation stuff, which is important, but also it's important to build up your immune system as well, so that you can stay strong both physically and mentally.
Do you think we'll see more sanitizers now in church and hand sanitizer machines in church?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you see hand sanitizing machines in church, even possibly some sinks. I wouldn't be surprised. Those small small sinks for people to wash their hands with soap, but then also glove dispensers as well. So I could definitely see all that within our churches. And I think, as you said earlier about the new normal, I really do believe when we go back that first Sunday, we're just going to have church on Sunday, no Sunday school, no nursery, no other rooms will be open, second floor will be closed, and we'll just have worship. And from there, we'll start at 10. By 12, we'll be out. Everybody got to be out by then. So that's the new normal.
Last question. Have you all received any assistance from the government? How are your members doing in terms of like supplies, food?
Definitely. So I thank God for our finance department, well, specifically our trustees and our church treasurer. We did receive $50,000 from the Small Business Administration.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Through the stimulus, the last stimulus that just came through. So that's really a good thing. So that also may allow us to take care of payroll. So we do have people on staff, so that's a great thing. Secondly, as you ask, as it relates to people in our church, we have been doing partnerships with the local food banks throughout the city of Philadelphia to ensure that our people have food. We also have members who do curbside drop-off of food to help people who are in need. But and that's been a great thing because many of them have 2 or 3 kids, and those kids are eating them out of house and home. But the other part of that, as I keep emphasizing, is jobs, unemployment. Unemployment at 30 million, and it's continually going up. More and more of our people within our congregations will be out of work. And so the thing is, even when we come back, when it comes to the church, we'll have less people because many of our congregants have passed away or they're at home recovering from the virus. But lastly, the finances will be at a different place too, because some of your givers are now 6 feet under, and many of them, the other ones, are already unemployed. And so it's going to take a lot of continual prayer, but also continual hard work post-pandemic to get our people healthy, but also to get our people back to work, because it's going to be really tough having, like I said, 50 million people out of work.
As we wrap up, do you have any final thoughts you would like to say?
I would think as it relates to ministry after the pandemic, I'll say this really quick. I feel, number one, that many of our storefront churches, and you know I'm from Chicago, like many of those storefront churches that we see like on Ashland and Halsted, you know, maybe have 5 or 10, 20 people. Many of those storefronts are going to close. Number two, many of the family-sized churches that's, let's say, have 150 to 200 people are going to have to combine. And thirdly, many of our mega churches are going to have to cut staff and programming between 15 to 30% to be able to stay viable. So that's definitely what I see within our churches across the country, given the amount of people we've lost, given the amount of how much money we've lost, and as it relates to given the amount of our people who are currently unemployed. And so the thing is, we're going to have to do more with less.
Thank you, Pastor Chauncey P. Harrison. You stay safe out there in Philadelphia, and prayers to you and the members of Zion Baptist Church of Philadelphia.